Welcome to Sovereign Mamas, the podcast sanctuary for visionary women who are building lives, businesses, and legacies in alignment with their feminine power. I'm your host, Julia Jerg, intuitive business coach, mama of two, and systems strategist for solo-led entrepreneurs. Here, we honor both your sacred role as a mama and your wild vision as a changemaker. Expect soul-aligned strategy, raw storytelling, behind the scenes, and powerful conversations that support you in scaling your business without sacrifice. If you're done choosing between success and sovereignty, you're home. Let's begin. And we are live on the Sovereign Mamas podcast. And as you know, I love to start this always with an intention setting or with a little bit of an intro to get us back into this space and why you're actually feeling called to listen to those episodes and these wonderful conversations that I have here with women from across the world. And it's this call that I see and hear and get confirmed conversation after conversation that women just feel so much more in connection and confirm that they're not on their own and that everyone is on the same path. And yes, we have different stories, different challenges, and different goals. And yet we have most likely we are going through the same phases, we're going through the same questions. And therefore, listening to someone, in a different stage, different season of motherhood is still yet relevant. And today we are talking to someone who, you might not be in this season anymore, not yet, but still, I'm sure we're digging up some nuggets because every time I'm speaking to someone, I feel there is gold in these conversations. So this is a long intro to say welcome to the show, Caitlin. I'm really thrilled to talk to you today. And let's dive straight in. You're a perinatal practitioner. Yes, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a perinatal nutritionist.
Nutritionist.
And yes,
Yes.
yes. So, I mean, especially working with moms, we end up wearing different hats, even within the role.
Exactly. The
So
practitioner nutritionist. Amazing.
yes.
And so this sounds intriguing. It sounds obviously something, especially after your body has changed and after you're diving into the new roles, like you say, of motherhood and nutrition is something that I do remember was important for me for a specific reason, but I feel that it could fall off the track, especially if you're just caring for the newborn, the new little ones, and then what about you? How are you supporting women? It's
Yes, absolutely. So I think you're right. I think it's something that can just sort of like be put to the back burner, like many things, especially when you're in those like deep trenches of, early infant to early toddlerhood, really those like first 2 years in particular after having kids, you're really focused on them with like rightfully so. So of course. Um, However, I think that nutrition is something that can be so beneficial when, not done perfectly, but intentionally, and can actually help you show up, with much more ease and joy on that journey.
Mhm. Yes. And so you're a mom yourself, and
Yes.
was that the reason why you entered into this field, or shares a little bit about the motivation for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working more just sort of generally in the, wellness space prior to having my first child, my son, who now he's going to be 6 at the end of the month, which is crazy. But I started transitioning more into supporting moms after I had him. I went back and got a specialty certification in perinatal nutrition. I also have my master's degree in it as well, so I was very like familiar. But you only get a snippet of that, of course, over everything you learn. And so I wanted to be able to dive in deeper and be able to better support moms because I ended up having a postpartum hemorrhage and infection with
Mm.
him. And, part of being able to recover, I really attribute to being able to get better help through nutrition. I was able to, cook with cast iron pans and really focus on iron, rich foods and not have to go back and get another iron infusion. And so that kind of, drove me to dig in deeper and be like, okay, I want to learn more about this and be able to support others, maybe not in the same exact way, but, through the challenges that can come up.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes so much sense. And do you find that your relationship to food then has also changed when it comes to guiding your child and the way you're thinking about his diet, I assume?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that when you start feeding your own kids, that can be really hard too for a lot of moms. And I think, making sure that you have a good, positive relationship with food is so important so that you can also translate that over to them. And I know, a lot of women have struggled with, diet culture and body image and so many things in terms of like how they were raised, maybe that those things can be really difficult when you don't want to translate that experience onto your children as well. And there were certainly lots of things that I had to unlearn going through that process as well, so that I can teach them that, all things can fit into, a healthy diet.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember, so my upbringing, I feel like even though I'm obviously coming from the 80s and into the 90s where there was like all sorts of foods, and I saw an image the other day that made me laugh and realize how old I am with a child, having one in one hand a Coke and in the other hand, what was it? Something with sugar.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and it was just like this representation of how back then it was normal to raise your children fully loaded with sugars. And I remember my parents were always really good with um, uh, healthy nutrition and, local markets and things and organic food. That was already their thing. But then, yeah, it was like just with the pocket money, we would just go off and were able to buy ice cream and things. And it was just like not a thing to monitor your kids' sugar so much. And and when I got pregnant with my son, who now will turn 9 in May this year, he actually got me into this whole, like I went down the rabbit hole. I remember digging deep and then the effects of sugar while you're pregnant, yada yada yada. You have like this whole new awareness. Suddenly you're like, oh, hang on, what I put into my body suddenly affects someone. And then later on, now they're out and I'm like, okay, what are we gonna feed them so that they're actually growing up healthy. So I feel there has come a shift. And do you also notice that with, you know, with us, like a new generation of raising children, that there is a positive towards better eating?
I think so. I think there is a shift. I think it is actually interesting that there's um sometimes it swings the like other way on the
Yeah.
pendulum now, actually. I think that and even with like best intentions too, right? With things that moms are seeing in the media potentially that is more targeted towards them. Like let's take maybe like protein intake as an example. because that's very like trendy, I guess, in the media right now, even though it is important. And so I will have, moms being really concerned, once they learn about, adequate protein intake for them, they worry about adequate protein intake for their kids. And they're like, well, do I need to be, feeding them protein shakes and things like that? And it's like, well, like, let's like back up a little bit. Like your kids' protein intakes are important, but they're very different than what yours are. And so, like most of the time, can get even the
Yeah.
pickiest eaters to get, adequate protein intake from whole foods. So it's just interesting that, like you said, like our parents were, not so worried about those kinds of things. I think it's swung the other direction a little bit sometimes.
Oh gosh, yeah. And what, and then in the next generation we'll look back and laugh and say, oh, um, what was worse? Or
Yeah, no.
but
And
I
again, I
think
don't think it's like it's not, ill-intentioned or anything. It's
no.
just, it's um trying to identify like within yourself what your needs are and then how does that translate to your kids because their nutritional needs are different and I'm not a pediatric dietitian but certainly they're different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it correctly. Like, it's always with the best intentions. I don't think anyone would ever, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not care about that. And we still turn out fine somehow.
Yeah.
It's so you have a
Absolutely. It's really.
6-year-old. Sorry,
Yes. Yeah. So my son is 6, and then I also have a 2.5-year-old daughter.
you're in the
So
thickest of it. Yes.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So it's very fun now watching them like be able to like play together and in a way where they can be kind of independent, be kind of independent, which is cool. They have a really, really sweet relationship.
That sounds very optimistic. I mean, mine are 6 and 8, and I remember until my youngest turned 5. I kept saying, yeah, it can't it can't be long. It can't be much longer. But then really like having a proper conversation, sitting down. We used to live in Thailand and it was just like a common thing to gather in the afternoons with
Mm.
all the families. And I noticed a shift when he was 5 and the other one was 7. I could actually stay seated with the adults, not chase someone because they
Mhm.
might drowning in the ocean or something, doing something on the coconut.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you're right. Like if there's a sibling, then that always helps. And there's like it's fun to see how they then can actually play together and bond.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's certainly like we still have to be in the same room, but like you can fold a basket of laundry
Yeah.
without having to police every 2 seconds. So,
Amazing. And how are you doing? Like, how do you feel about being like a mompreneur whilst, what what
yeah,
do you find most challenging or most rewarding?
I think it's such a roller coaster. It's I wouldn't change any of it for the world. It's been really great. I remember before having kids, I used to work more in a clinical setting, and I knew that with what my husband's job was, that I wasn't going to be able to continue with, my career path in that way with wanting to have kids. And so I said, I need to figure out how I can work from home, and so I feel like so blessed, like looking back on those kinds of moments to be like, I've done, like I've done that. And it certainly is hard because you feel guilt at times for maybe not being either fully present with your kids or fully present with a client or work that you need to be doing. And so there's, I feel like always that tether that is pulling there. Um, but the challenges that do come up, again, just being able to have a flexible schedule and, be there for them. Both of them were able to stay home with me up until somewhere in the like 15 months to two, ish range before we needed to get some, additional childcare support. And I'm like so grateful for that time and to also be able to like, contribute to our family's income.
Yeah, I think that's a really that's the most rewarding side or the upside of having this freedom of being with your children and really be more flexible and catering to their needs, but still having the fulfilling side of what you want to bring to this world and creating a business and creating impact.
Yeah,
It is something, yeah, that's not only, some people say, oh, I have to park it until motherhood ends, but it never ends. So there's never the perfect time for it.
no,
And so, yeah,
yeah.
how do you find balance or what's your, if someone's listening and saying, oh, I could never do that, what would be your super,
Oh
superpower
my
trick
gosh.
in doing it?
Yeah, I think, well, like you said, there's never a like best time, I think, in motherhood. There's always going to be some kind of challenge or some kind of hard, and there's never a perfect a perfect time for anything. And so I think just being okay with knowing like it's going to be messy and just, doing the best that you can. And there's, so many business coaches and business advice that may say, otherwise, like you have to do XYZ in order to be successful. And in my experience, I don't think that that's true at all. I think you can, start as you are and continue to learn and do it the way that fits for like your values and your goals, and you don't have to do it like someone else is doing it.
Totally,
So,
totally. That's actually something like really rooted deeply in the Sovereign Mamas movement, where I'm also coming from a business and marketing background, where I used to, really go down the masculine or mainstream, or I don't even know how to label it correctly, but you're giving out advice because it works somehow in some settings for some people, but then yeah, I came to realize it's just not gonna work for everyone, and especially not for moms. So there is a different way of handling everything when it comes to entrepreneurship, your mindset, your routines, your offer buildings, the ways you host your containers, like making things work for you. And that looks, even amongst mothers, looks different to each and every single one, right? But
yeah,
having like this clarity and having also this backup from other women who are doing it, that I think is key, and that I think feels, the more and more we talk about it, the more and more we share this and say it's working. For me, it's A, and for her it's Z, and for her is K. And so, and it
yeah,
still does like
yeah,
work and
totally.
find your way, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, yeah, I mean, you have to be willing to be really like flexible and patient
Mhm.
with yourself, which I know is easier said than done.
Yes.
Than done. But just, I always just keep going. And if something it doesn't go how I intended or wanted it to go, then I pivot a little bit and say, well, let's see how I can shift it this way. And does that, create a better impact or a better result, whether it's, a system for myself or a system a system for a client. And so it is sometimes trial and error until you hit your sweet spot, and then you can roll with it.
Totally. Yeah. And so aside from nutrition and, children and motherhood and or maybe within this theme, what's something that you're currently most excited about when you look forward?
Yeah, yeah. So, I am also a patient and family advocate in my state of Vermont, and the group really helps to uh, be sort of that voice in between the providers and the patients. So, we have a really big like grant and project going on that's called like the Maternal Health Initiative in Vermont. And so I'm really excited that I get to be a part of that and be able to have that voice so that, more women can feel like seen and heard in the health care system, and how they receive it. So it's going to be like a big 5 year project. So I'm going to be on the patient like advocate side of things, but
Oh,
not necessarily as a practitioner role, but more as a personal perspective, and really excited to
oh,
be there with other again other providers, but some other patient advocates to make an impact in our state. So that's something that's a little separate from my work, but I'm really excited to be a part of.
exciting. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
sounds like a meaningful work and also for you then a way to make, more connections. And I'm sure you'll
Yeah.
from this really not bounce off, but like benefit from the connections for your business as well.
Yeah, I think it's nice to be able to, yeah, connect with others that are within the community that share that sort of same like passion for
Mhm.
maternal health. It's really cool. And, also I think benefited from it too. Like I've been able to, they've been able to provide, support from other providers in terms of being able to, navigate what those birth stories have
Mhm.
looked like, and learning how to be a better storyteller and things like that. So it's a really nice, yes, personal development, but it will also benefit me professionally as well.
Yeah, always. Oh,
So
there's
so
always more in it than we can see most of the times in the beginning.
yeah,
Oh, that's
absolutely.
exciting. Oh,
Yeah, no,
amazing. Coming back to the nutrition though,
yes,
when you like, is there any, I know this is so individual and I know we can't really give out now a rule of thumb, but what would you say
sure.
is your best advice for someone who, and it might not be a new mom, it might not, like in general,
Sure.
how
Yeah.
to get more out of the nutrition if that's something someone wants to work on and improve on.
Yeah. I would always say start small. Don't feel like you need to overhaul everything that you're doing just because you're looking to make change. I would maybe even start with one meal. What can you add to it to make it a little bit more nutrient dense? Can you work on, adding in a protein source or a fruit and vegetable alongside something that you're already doing? You don't need to overcomplicate it to, make impact. Oftentimes those like little changes and shifts snowball to allow you to stack other things on top of it. But I think we were talking about something earlier too, where it's like this is another thing where you have to be willing to like be patient, like you've probably done some like dieting or made some changes that have maybe been very restrictive in the past. And most people don't need more rigidity in their nutrition. They, yes, they need the like knowledge of like why things are important, but they just need better systems to like help themselves stay consistent. And so oftentimes I use the acronym like PHFF plus carbs. So I'm like, if we can get protein, healthy fats, fiber paired with your carbohydrate source, that's going to help you stay satisfied through your meals. Your energy levels are going to stay more balanced because your blood sugar is going to stay more balanced, and your hormones are going to also be happier
Here.
too.
Happy
So,
hormones. Who doesn't want that?
yes. So that's probably my biggest, advice and something that I talk about with all my clients.
Yes, amazing. I love that. And also, I feel like, don't you, I don't know if you also coach your clients on, more than just the food and the nutrition. I'm using
Yeah.
quotation mark here because I do believe that whatever you do and you approach this with a must do mindset or versus, oh, I'm just enjoying, like still having fun and
Yeah.
yeah, also not be too serious about
I
things,
know.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, moms need more joyful
Yeah,
moments as they're doing
exactly.
things. So even though um my, main role is in the nutrition, I really do like to take a holistic approach to things and make sure that we are talking about things like nervous system regulation and yeah, what do you like doing for for fun? Like how can we interject that into things? And a lot of mindset work. And so it's not just like a macronutrient thing. It's really, about how they show up in their world now and how do they want to show up in their
Yeah.
world so that they get that transformation of how they really want to feel. And so, yeah, I always start out with like what their why is,
Hmm.
like why are these things important to you? How do you want to feel both during the process and, 5 years down the
Yeah.
road. So it's definitely like a whole person journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. So that it also sticks and it's not just like a thing that you're
Yeah.
doing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Nice. Amazing. Awesome. And do you find like that your 6-year-old understands a little bit more and more what you're doing?
Yeah, I
Can't
think
see
he's
Amy.
starting to like a little bit. We talk about, why certain foods, are important,
Mhm.
and um I also really like to I also really like to exercise and lift weights. And so he will come and work out with me and he's not focused the whole entire time, but like he knows how to do a squat and do a plank, and like
Yeah.
he has his own little 2 pound
Oh,
dumbbells and
nice.
stuff. And um, he he enjoys doing that. And so they definitely pick up on like what your environment looks like and are interested in it. And it's so good to include that in them. And yeah, he likes cooking in the kitchen in the
Oh,
kitchen when we're making things. And so it's a great, place for them to learn, how they can integrate these types of habits into their life too. So they're never too
yes.
young.
So no, absolutely no, and they're always watching. Like I feel,
Yeah.
yes, that's the main motivation that most moms reflect back when I have conversations, and for me as well. Like I know I'm always being watched, so it definitely pushed
Yeah.
me to become a better person, and being more
Mhm.
mindful and really wanting to model someone who they can then become and step into because obviously like you say they love to copy, they come around, they do the things we're interested in, and so it's these early days when it makes so much sense to be choosing the right things for us, for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think
Oh,
that, yeah, a lot of moms need that permission to like shift the focus onto themselves, I think, and be like, like when you're showing up for yourself and doing these things, it's not selfish, it's yes, going to benefit you, but it's going to benefit your entire family as well.
yes, 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 yes. And that is a perfect lead in into what is currently brewing in the Sovereign Mamas movement and the idea bringer for our Sovereign Mamas villages, which are retreats around the world. And the first one is in Bali this year. And exactly with this motivation, where not only the moms come and immerse themselves in, into those personal development work and body work and yoga and wellness topics, but also having their children along with them and
Mhm.
they get to witness the moms. They get to see what it actually means to dedicate time and devoting yourself to your becoming. And so that's really nice that you're saying this because it's kind of like a confirmation that it is something that we need to normalize, right? We moms can't do the work here closed up in our little rooms and then come out and go back to normal family life. No, that has to be combined and be witnessed as well. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, no, I
Thanks,
love that you're doing it that because I think, yeah, moms need more
moms.
of the village.
Yes, we do, we do, we do, we do. Amazing, Caitlin. Thank you so much for sharing and having this topic here on the show because, like, yeah, like we said before, it's an important topic. It might slip sometimes, and it's okay if it does. If you're listening and saying, "Ooh, yeah, true, I should watch my macros or my carbs or whatever you're worried about." And yeah, I think the biggest takeaway here is truly find a way that works for you. Get some support if you feel like you need to get into a system and establish a process that works for you. And then obviously Caitlin is here to support you in that. We'll link in the show notes to her contact and website and enjoy the journey still, right? Still
Yes,
enjoy.
absolutely.
Yes. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me, Julia.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and thanks everyone for listening and can't wait to share another episode on the podcast next time. Bye.